The blue glow of Jennifer's laptop screen painted her face in an otherworldly light as she scrolled through her social media feed that Tuesday evening. She had been putting off checking her messages for days, buried under deadlines at the marketing firm where she worked as a graphic designer. Her small apartment felt unusually quiet, even for a weeknight, with only the distant hum of traffic from the street below breaking the silence. She tucked a strand of her brown hair behind her ear and reached for her lukewarm coffee, settling deeper into her desk chair. Jennifer had always been methodical about her online presence. At 28, she maintained a careful balance between sharing enough to stay connected with friends and family while keeping her private life reasonably protected. She posted photos of her weekend hiking trips, shared articles about design trends, and celebrated her friends' achievements with genuine enthusiasm. Her life was predictable in the best possible way. She had her routines, her small circle of close friends, and a job that challenged her creatively while paying the bills. As she clicked through the community groups she belonged to, Neighborhood Watch, local hiking clubs, professional networks, something caught her eye that made her blood run cold. There, posted in the missing persons section of her local community board, was her own face staring back at her. The poster was professionally designed, something she noticed immediately with her trained eye. The layout was clean, the typography was carefully chosen, and the color scheme was both attention-grabbing and somber. But it was the content that made her hands shake as she gripped her coffee mug. Missing, Jennifer Martinez, 28 years old, the headline read in bold, urgent letters. Below her photo, a picture she recognized from her LinkedIn profile, were details that made her stomach drop. Her full name, complete with the middle initial she rarely used publicly. Her height and weight, accurate to the pound from her last doctor's visit. Her car's make, model, and license plate number, information she had never posted online anywhere. The poster described her daily routine with chilling accuracy: her morning stop at Brew and Bean coffee shop, her usual parking spot in the southeast corner of her office building's garage, even her Tuesday evening yoga class that she attended religiously but had never mentioned on social media. But the detail that made her feel like the floor was dropping away beneath her was the date. The poster was dated Friday, 3 days in the future. According to this missing person flyer, Jennifer Martinez would disappear on a Friday that hadn't even arrived yet. She screenshot the image with trembling fingers, then immediately began searching for more instances of the poster. What she found made her feel sick. The same flyer had been posted across multiple platforms simultaneously: Facebook community groups, neighborhood apps, local bulletin boards, even printed versions that appeared to have been distributed around her neighborhood. Someone had gone to extraordinary lengths to spread this information widely and quickly. The last known location listed on the poster was even more disturbing. It described a warehouse district on the outskirts of town, near the old industrial area that had been largely abandoned for years. Jennifer had never been to that part of the city. She had no reason to go there, no friends or family in that area, no business that would take her to such a remote location. Yet the poster described it as if she had been there recently, as if it was a place she might logically be found. Jennifer's mind raced as she tried to process what she was seeing. Someone had created a professional quality missing person poster about her disappearance before she had actually disappeared. Someone who knew intimate details about her life, details that weren't available through casual observation or social media stalking. Someone who knew her car, her routines, her physical characteristics with the precision of a close friend or family member. She immediately called her best friend Sarah, who lived across town. "Sarah, this is going to sound crazy, but I need you to look at something," Jennifer said, her voice tight with anxiety. She sent the screenshot while Sarah was still on the line. The silence that followed was long and heavy. "Jenny, what the hell is this?" Sarah finally asked, her voice barely above a whisper. "This is dated for Friday. It's only Tuesday." "I know. I found it posted in like 6 different community groups. Someone's been spreading this around town like I'm already missing." Who would do this? And how do they know all this stuff about you? That was the question that kept circling in Jennifer's mind. The poster contained information that required either extensive surveillance or inside knowledge. Her license plate number wasn't something someone could glean from casual observation. Her car was parked in a secure garage at work, and in her apartment complex is covered parking at home. Her exact height and weight, her middle initial, her specific daily routines, this level of detail suggested someone had been watching her closely for an extended period, or someone she trusted had betrayed that trust. She spent the next hour documenting everything. She took screenshots of every instance of the poster she could find, noting the timestamps and platforms. She created a detailed timeline of her own movements over the past few weeks, trying to identify any patterns or moments when someone might have been observing her. She checked her social media settings, her privacy controls, even her work computer to see if there were any signs of unauthorized access. The more she investigated, the more unsettled she became. The poster wasn't just a cruel prank or a case of mistaken identity. It was too detailed, too professionally executed, too widely distributed. Someone had invested significant time, effort, and planning into creating and disseminating this false missing person report. The question was why? As the night wore on, Jennifer found herself checking the locks on her doors multiple times. She closed all her curtains and blinds, suddenly aware of how visible she was from the street through her ground floor windows. Every sound, the settling of the building, footsteps in the hallway, cars passing outside, made her jump. She kept returning to her laptop, refreshing the community groups to see if more posters had appeared or if anyone had commented on the existing ones. What she found in the comments section made her situation even more frightening. People were sharing the poster, expressing concern for her safety, even organizing search efforts. Some comments included additional details about her appearance and habits that were scarily accurate. Others suggested locations where she might be found, all places she had visited recently but hadn't posted about online. One comment in particular made her blood run cold. "I saw her at the warehouse district yesterday around 6 p.m. She looked distressed and was talking on her phone." The timestamp on the comment showed it had been posted just hours ago, but Jennifer had been at home all evening. Someone was actively fabricating evidence of her presence in the very location the poster identified as her last known whereabouts. By 2 a.m., Jennifer had called the police. The officer who took her report was sympathetic but clearly puzzled by the situation. "So you're calling to report that you're missing, but you're not actually missing?" he asked, trying to understand the bizarre circumstances. "Someone posted a missing person report about me that's dated 3 days in the future," Jennifer explained, knowing how strange it sounded. "They're spreading it all over social media and community boards. People are starting to believe I'm actually missing." The officer took down her information and promised to look into it, but Jennifer could tell he wasn't sure what, if anything, could be done. Creating a false missing person report wasn't clearly illegal if the person in question was safe and present. The more pressing question was what would happen on Friday, the day the poster claimed she would disappear. Jennifer didn't sleep that night. She sat in her living room with the lights on, occasionally peering through the blinds at the parking lot below. Her phone buzzed constantly with messages from friends and acquaintances who had seen the poster and were concerned about her safety. Each notification made her jump, and she found herself carefully screening every call and text before responding. Wednesday brought new developments that made her realize the scope of what she was facing. The poster had spread beyond her local community groups. She found it shared in regional missing person networks, on social media accounts with thousands of followers, even printed and posted on bulletin boards at coffee shops and community centers across the city. Someone had created a coordinated campaign to establish her as a missing person in the public consciousness before she had actually disappeared. More disturbing were the additional details that began appearing in online discussions about her case. People were sharing memories of seeing her in various locations, describing her behavior and appearance with concerning accuracy. Some claimed to have witnessed her looking distressed or frightened in the days leading up to her supposed disappearance. Others provided detailed descriptions of her clothing, her car, even her typical routes around the city. Jennifer realized that someone hadn't just created a missing person poster, they had orchestrated an entire false narrative about her disappearance, complete with fabricated witness accounts and planted evidence. The level of planning and coordination required was staggering. This wasn't the work of a lone individual with a grudge, it felt like a carefully executed operation. By Thursday, the pressure was becoming unbearable. Jennifer called in sick to work, afraid to follow her normal routines when someone was clearly tracking her movements. She stayed in her apartment, ordering groceries for delivery and communicating with the outside world only through her phone. But even isolation couldn't protect her from the growing momentum of her own missing person case. Local news outlets had picked up the story. Local woman missing under mysterious circumstances appeared on several community news websites, complete with her photo and details from the original poster. The articles described her as a beloved member of the community whose disappearance had shocked friends and family. They quoted concerned neighbors and coworkers expressing hope for her safe return. Jennifer found herself in the surreal position of reading news coverage of her own disappearance while sitting safely in her living room. The articles were convincing, filled with quotes from people she recognized but who had never actually spoken to reporters about her being missing. Someone had fed these journalists a complete story, complete with fabricated sources and manufactured evidence. The psychological toll was overwhelming. Jennifer began to question her own reality. Was she actually missing? Had something happened to her that she couldn't remember? The consistent details across multiple sources, the professional quality of the information, the widespread distribution, it all felt too elaborate to be fake, even though she knew she was safe in her apartment. She called Sarah again, desperate for reassurance. "I need you to see me," Jennifer said. "I need someone to confirm that I'm actually here, that I'm not losing my mind." Sarah came over immediately, bringing groceries and staying for dinner. Having another person in her space, someone who could verify her existence and sanity, provided temporary relief. But Sarah's presence also highlighted how isolated Jennifer had become. She hadn't left her apartment in 2 days, hadn't gone to work, hadn't followed any of her normal routines. "You're letting them win," Sarah pointed out gently. "Whoever's doing this, they've already succeeded in making you disappear from your own life." The observation was both painful and accurate. Jennifer had effectively vanished from her normal existence, driven into hiding by the fear of becoming the missing person that someone had already declared her to be. She was trapped in a twisted paradox. If she followed her normal routines, she risked fulfilling the predictions in the poster. But if she stayed hidden, she was already living as if she had disappeared. Friday morning arrived with the weight of inevitability. Jennifer woke up in her living room chair, where she had spent the night watching the street through a crack in the blinds. She was exhausted, paranoid, and desperate to understand who was orchestrating her nightmare. The poster's predicted date had arrived, and she felt like she was living in the final act of someone else's carefully scripted plan. Her phone had been buzzing all morning with messages from people who had seen the news coverage. Friends, family members, even distant acquaintances were reaching out to express their concern and offer help in finding her. The irony was almost unbearable. People were worried about her disappearance while she sat in her apartment, reading their messages in real time. But the most disturbing development came in the form of a new social media post that appeared on her local community group's page. Someone had posted an update claiming to have found evidence of her presence at the warehouse district mentioned in the original poster. The post included photos of her car parked in an empty lot, taken from a distance but clearly showing her license plate. Jennifer's heart stopped. Her car was supposed to be in her apartment complex's parking garage, where she had left it 3 days earlier when she decided to stop following her normal routines. She ran to her window and looked down at the parking lot. Her car was gone. Panic flooded through her system as she grabbed her keys and ran down to the garage. Her assigned parking space was empty. The car that had been safely locked in a secure garage for 3 days had somehow been moved to the exact location mentioned in a missing person poster that had been created a week earlier. Someone had taken her car and positioned it as evidence of her disappearance. Someone with access to her vehicle, knowledge of her routines, and the ability to execute a complex plan designed to make her missing person poster appear prophetic rather than fabricated. The realization hit her like a physical blow. She wasn't just being stalked or harassed. She was being framed for her own disappearance. Jennifer called the police immediately, reporting her car as stolen and explaining the connection to the missing person posters. This time, the officer who responded took her seriously. The theft of her vehicle, combined with the suspicious timing in the fabricated missing person reports, elevated the situation from a bizarre prank to a clear criminal case. But even as she provided her statement to the police, Jennifer couldn't shake the feeling that she was playing a role in someone else's script. Every action she took, calling the police, reporting the theft, trying to prove she wasn't actually missing, seemed to be exactly what her tormentor had anticipated. She was dancing to someone else's choreography, following a path that had been laid out for her by an unknown puppet master. The investigation that followed revealed the chilling extent of the plot against her. Security footage from her apartment complex showed a figure in dark clothing accessing her car in the early hours of Friday morning, using what appeared to be a spare key. The person was careful to avoid showing their face to the cameras, but their familiarity with the building's layout and security systems suggested someone with inside knowledge. Digital forensics on the social media posts revealed a coordinated campaign involving multiple fake accounts, all created specifically to spread the missing person poster and manufacture evidence of Jennifer's disappearance. The IP addresses traced back to public computers and anonymous networks, suggesting someone with technical sophistication and careful planning. Most disturbing of all was the discovery that someone had been systematically gathering information about Jennifer's life for months. Her daily routines, her work schedule, her personal relationships, all of it had been documented with the precision of a professional investigator. The level of surveillance required to gather such detailed information suggested either law enforcement or private investigation backgrounds, or at least access to professional resources. The case remained open but unsolved. Jennifer's car was eventually found abandoned in a warehouse district, exactly where the missing person poster had predicted. No fingerprints were recovered, no DNA evidence was found, and no witnesses came forward with information about who had placed it there. The investigation hit dead ends at every turn, as if the perpetrator had anticipated every possible avenue of inquiry. Jennifer eventually returned to something resembling normal life, but the experience left permanent scars. She moved to a different apartment, changed her routines, and maintained a much lower online profile. She installed security systems, varied her daily patterns, and never again took her safety for granted. The knowledge that someone had orchestrated such an elaborate plot against her, and had never been caught, haunted her daily existence. The missing person posters eventually faded from community boards and social media feeds, replaced by newer tragedies and concerns. But Jennifer never forgot the feeling of discovering her own disappearance, announced to the world before it had actually happened. She had lived through her own predicted future, surviving a nightmare that someone else had scripted for her life. To this day, she doesn't know who was behind the elaborate scheme or why they targeted her. The case remains one of the most unusual and disturbing examples of technological stalking and psychological manipulation ever documented. Jennifer's story serves as a chilling reminder that in our connected world, the line between reality and fabrication can be manipulated by those with sufficient planning, resources, and malicious intent. The person who created her missing person poster, who stole her car, who orchestrated her disappearance before it happened, remains unknown and unpunished. Jennifer lives with the knowledge that somewhere out there, someone has demonstrated the ability to erase her from her own life with frightening precision. The horror isn't just in what happened to her, it's in the realization that it could happen to anyone, and that the very systems designed to help find missing people can be weaponized to make someone disappear.